Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans.
Fellow Americans, he hasn't even shown us his birth certificate. Meanwhile, for example, my children were born at home, tons of witnesses that we have of their home birth, and yet they have a hard time getting birth certificates and visas, passports. But here we have a man that wouldn't show his birth certificate, and he is, I didn't vote for him.
Tonight I want to begin by congratulating the men and women of the 112th Congress, as well as your new Speaker, John Boehner. And as we mark this occasion, we're also mindful of the empty chair in this chamber, and we pray for the health of our colleague and our friend, Gabby Giffords. Now, it's no secret that those of us here tonight have had our differences over the last 2 years. The debates have been contentious. We have fought fiercely for our beliefs. And that's a good thing. That's what a robust democracy demands.
You say that's what defines us. You won't let us into the debates to speak our piece. You deny us our constitutional rights. That's what defines us. What defines us is your policies, and the rest of the world gives their definition of us. They tell us how defined we are, and they consider us infidels. It's embarrassing to be an American. Please don't judge us by these people that you hear speak. Thank you for defining us, Mr. Obama. We were fine without you.
That's what helps set us apart as a nation. But there's a reason the tragedy in Tucson gave us pause. Amid all the noise and passion and rancor of our public debate, Tucson reminded us that no matter who we are or where we come from, each of us is a part of something greater, something more consequential than party or political preference. We are part of the American family.
Really?
We believe that in a country where every race and faith and point of view can be found, we are still bound together as one people.
You gotta agree with that. Whatever faith or religion, we are bound together. He bounds us in jail by the numbers of 872,000 on the federal level last year. That's being bound together.
That we share common hopes and a common creed.
How can you say common hopes and common creed? We were taught in school about the Constitution, and we do hope that that would be a common thread amongst us. But however, you and those people sitting around you totally disrespect it, just like you disrespect us.
That the dreams of a little girl in Tucson are not so different than those of our own children. That they all deserve the chance to be fulfilled. That too is what sets us apart as a nation. Now, by itself, this simple recognition won't usher in a new era of cooperation. What comes of this moment is up to us. What comes of this moment will be determined not by whether we can sit together tonight, but whether we can work together tomorrow. believe we must. That's what the people who sent us here expect of us. With their votes, they've determined that governing will now be a shared responsibility between parties. New laws will only pass with support from Democrats and Republicans. We will move forward together, or not at all. For the challenges we face are bigger than party, and bigger than politics. The stake right now is not who wins the next election. After all, we just had an election. The stake is whether new jobs and industries take root in this country or somewhere else.
Jobs and industries. It would be really good thought for you, Mr. President, instead of us importing hemp from China, to grow it ourselves. How about that? That would be a good job and an industry.
It's whether the hard work and industry of our people is rewarded. It's whether we sustain the leadership that has made America not just a place on a map, but the light to the world. And we are poised for progress. 2 years after the worst recession most of us have ever known, the stock market has come roaring back. Corporate profits are up. The economy is growing again. But we have never measured progress by these yardsticks alone. We measure progress by the success of our people, by the jobs they can find.
How did that go? You measure success to how good the people are doing? The two guys in the background, of course, they're not us working class people, but they about coughed up their false teeth, I think.
Quality of life those jobs offer. By the prospects of a small business owner who dreams of turning a good idea into a thriving enterprise. By the opportunities for a better life that we pass on to our children. That's the project the American people want us to work on. Together. And we did that in December. Thanks to the tax cuts we passed, Americans' paychecks are a little bigger today. Every business can write off the full cost of new investments that they make this year. And these steps, taken by Democrats and Republicans, will grow the economy and add to the more than 1 million private sector jobs created last year.
Which sadly included, actually it was the biggest portion, was the building of more prisons, the adding of more in law enforcement, the building of more infrastructure to control the people. That is your economy. Tell the truth. That's the State of the Union. This is a police state. Why don't you tell that to the people? That's the State of the Union as well.
But we have to do more. These steps we've taken over the last 2 years may have broken the back of this recession. But to win the future, we'll need to take on challenges that have been decades in the making. Many people watching tonight can probably remember a time when finding a good job meant showing up at a nearby factory or a business downtown. You didn't always need a degree. Your competition was pretty much limited to your neighbors. If you worked hard, chances are you'd have a job for life, with a decent paycheck and good benefits and the occasional promotion. Maybe you'd even have the pride of seeing your kids work at the same company. That world has changed. And for many, the change has been painful. I've seen it in the shuttered windows of once booming factories, in the vacant storefronts on once busy main streets. I've heard it in the frustrations of Americans who've seen their paychecks dwindle or their jobs disappear. Proud men and women who feel like the rules have been changed in the middle of the game. They're right. The rules have changed. In a single generation, revolutions in technology have transformed the way we live, work, and do business. Steel mills that once needed 1,000 workers can now do the same work with 100. Today, just about any company can set up shop, hire workers, and sell their products wherever there's an internet connection. Meanwhile, nations like China and India realized that with some changes of their own, they could compete in this new world. And so they started educating their children earlier and longer.
Hey, since you haven't given us any concrete ideas of how you're going to do all this, the one thing for sure is if we return to the garden and sow that seed, that hemp plant can turn this thing around. Instead of importing it from China and everywhere else and using it against the people, you should let the people sow the seed.